there, everyone. Welcome to a new series. Today, and for the next couple months maybe, we are going to be doing Disney Top 5s every Wednesday. And we have a great one to start off with. But first, I'm Joelle.
I'm Stuart.
And this is 2Max Try. Thank you for stopping by. Make sure you check out our social medias. They'll pop up at the bottom of the screen. Joelle is working on keeping the website updated, so make sure you check that out. And follow us on Instagram and Facebook. So today, we are starting with maybe the best Disney Top 5 ever. What do you think?
I mean, it's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
And I don't know why I'm being suspenseful, because you'll probably see it in the title. We're doing Disney villains! And we even have villain mugs.
Well,
hold yours up.
Mine's not a villain.
Oh no, it's a hero.
It's a hero.
I have a villain, well, a villain sidekick. Who might be, I probably shouldn't say this because it might be a spoiler for a future video. Might be my favorite villain sidekick.
Wow. Well.
Spoiler alert.
So when that video comes out, you won't have to watch it.
Well, you want to know my other one.
Joelle ends up on that one.
Gronk. He's great. He's great. And I love Emperor's New Groove. It is maybe the most underrated, well, one of the most underrated Disney movies.
I would
so
agree
good.
with that, yep.
But without further ado, let's stop talking about sidekicks and get into our top 5. So all of our Disney top 5s for the next few months will follow these same guidelines. Mm-hmm. It's going to be all like original Disney movies. So no Marvel, no Pixar, no other things that they've acquired.
I think we have to clarify a little bit, not just original, but any Disney specific movie.
Right.
So not like a mesh of Pixar and, as Joe said, right, Marvel and Star Wars and all that stuff. This is just Disney characters.
Right, we're kind of going OG Disney.
Right.
Yep. So it's basically kind of Disney classics.
Kind of, but because there have been movies released in the last decade with characters, they count as well.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and we would love to hear if you guys agree with us, if you guys agree with me or with Stuart. So make sure you leave a comment down below with your top Disney villain, so we can see who's more right. It's gonna be me.
More right.
I already think I know who Stuart's top Disney villain is.
I don't know if you do.
Maybe he'll surprise me. So we're gonna start at 5 and work our way down to 1. Mm-hmm. So 5 being the worst of the list and 1 being the best of the list. Do you want to share your number 5 first?
No.
Oh, okay.
But I will.
Okay.
I have to find it here in my handy dandy notebook.
My Blue's Clues.
My
Clues.
YouTube notebook. All right. So I started off with maybe not necessarily the most creative in design.
Okay.
As far as villains go, but I went with probably the most accurate in terms of depicting human fall.
Oh, okay. That is such a Stuart thing to do.
It is a Stuart thing to do. This character really shows the arrogance and pride in humanity.
Okay.
And so I think for that reason it puts him at the top of the list of, or not the top of the list, but in the top 5 of villains just because of how nasty he was.
Okay.
And so my number 5 is Gaston from Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, okay.
I just think that he's a despicable human being. And
he really is.
Goes to show how power in the hands of the wrong person can influence the masses. Mm-hmm. And so for me...
Wow, Stuart is getting really philosophical with this. Wow, you guys are getting more than you bargained for.
That pretty much puts him in the top 5 for me.
Okay.
So, yeah, so number 5 for me, Gaston from Beauty and the Beast.
Okay, my number 5, and I had multiple choices for number 5. I had a top 4 that I knew that I wanted to be the top 4, and then I had a few that any of them could have been the top 5. Mm-hmm. But I picked Prince Hans from Frozen because I didn't know that he was the bad guy until he, turned Anna away. And I was just like, oh. And maybe I should have known. And Stuart knew right away when we watched the movie. Mm-hmm. But that's who I picked. And that's kind of, mine have no philosophical reasons whatsoever.
You may not know this, I'm a pretty good judge of character. Even animated characters.
Even animated characters. So I picked
But I've done that in a lot of shows.
Just because it was a surprise.
I'm able to pick out who the
You are. You're good at that.
Is.
So that was my number 5. And like I said, I had multiple ones that any of them could have been my number 5. But that was who I finally picked.
Hans was a jerk. All right.
He was a jerk.
My number 4, and I wrestled with this just because I started off, I'll explain a little bit of my process in picking out, like, the most memorable characters throughout my childhood and even as I reflected on it. Because a lot of these movies I haven't watched in years, but trying to remember just where they fell. And I think number 4 for me is, I like the spin that Disney gave with a familiar literary character. So for me, number 4 is Professor Ratigan.
Ooh.
I've always been a fan of Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
And The Great Mouse Detective. I think that's another underrated Disney movie.
That came out during our childhood.
Right. And so for me, just the design and idea of taking the Professor Moriarty character and bringing it down to animal level and doing Professor Ratigan, I think is just a great spin on a literary classic. So for me, and he's just flat out evil.
Yeah, he is.
Like, I think Disney did a great job of bringing, obviously, some humor into the character, but also he was still really menacing and dark. And
he has a great song, too.
He had a cat that he fed people to.
I was going to say, I was doing some research for this video and looking up different lists of Disney villains, and that was one of the things they brought up about Ratigan. Like, how great is it that it's a mouse with a pet cat? Right, exactly. That he feeds his enemies to. Right. So that's pretty dark. That's pretty... It is pretty dark. Pretty crazy. But for that reason, I think Professor Ratigan is definitely number 4 on my list. Okay. My number 4 is a more recent villain, and a lot of my villains I picked because they have really good songs. I had no, like I said, no philosophical reason. I just enjoyed their songs. It's Dr. Facilier from The Princess and the Frog. And also, I picked some of them because I really like playing them in Disney Villainous. We'll leave a link to that down below. If you love Disney and you love strategy games, you will love this game. Yeah. It's great to play with, not little kids, that wouldn't work, but like 10, 12-year-old and older kids. It'd be great to play as a family because you kind of get to mess each other up. Yeah. And but we will link that down below because it's super fun. I'm not the hugest board game fan, but that one I love playing. It's just great. Yeah, and you can play rounds kind of quickly with just a couple people. And so we like to play multiple rounds and keep track of who wins the most rounds. So I also like playing Dr. Facilier in that game. But I liked his song. He, like, I don't know, there's just something about him. He's like draws you in, which is the point of his character, to make you a deal that sounds good but really messes you up. I really like Dr. Facilier. Yeah, good deal with the devil kind of character. Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah. All right. Number 3. My number 3, and I think number 3 fell more in nostalgia and just, it's just a movie that stands out. And once again, I think it's another play on just the manipulation that a seemingly weak leader can have to guide the masses. So, for me, my number 3 is Scar. Wow, I thought that was going to be his number 1. Scar, there's nothing really special about him. He's just a skinny lion. But I just think the way that he's portrayed in the movie, he's definitely one of the more sinister. I mean, the guy killed his own brother. Right. Like, you don't get much darker than that. Right. So for me, I think Scar is just, and once again, that's a lot of childhood. So like Lion King was one of my favorite movies. Yeah, that also came out while we were kids. Right, not just in the sense that it traumatizes you and the fact that, you know, a kid's dad dies, but the fact that it was his own brother that did him in. Spoiler alert, maybe we should have mentioned that. If you haven't watched Lion King... what are you doing with your life? Where have you been the past 30 years? So for me, Scar, I think he's worthy of a top 5 spot. Yeah. And number 3 is where I put him. Also has a good song. Also has one of my favorite, I think, villain songs is Be Prepared by Scar. Yep. So, all right. My number 3. Isn't it sad that I can't remember? Oh, Hades from Hercules. He is so snarky, and I love it. Yeah. I love it. Hades ended up close to my top 5. Yeah? But because I couldn't remember a whole lot about him, he didn't make it. I just love how, like, snarky and quippy he is, and he's like, hey there. Good old James Woods. Right? Yeah. And the blue hair is so fun. The flames. I don't know. I really love. Hercules is another top of the list movie for me. And the music is great. Basically, if the music is good, it's gonna be on my list.
Yeah. I mean, that's a Disney movie, though. It's a lot of, and we will do a video on best soundtracks.
Yeah, we have that coming up.
So keep an eye out for that. All right, so
I don't have long explanations.
Apparently not. You didn't put a lot of thought into this.
I did. I just didn't have philosophical.
My number 2.
Oh, we're getting close to the top.
Is one that Joelle's already mentioned.
Ooh, okay.
But I ranked him higher, obviously.
Okay.
I put in my number 2 spot Dr. Facilier.
Ooh.
I don't know what it is about him. He's just, even though his character is fairly simple, he's like just a voodoo whatever.
Yep.
Priest, I guess. I don't know what he actually is.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure either.
I just think when you go into that deal with the devil type stuff, it's really a challenge to take that and make it to some degree kid friendly.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
and it is pretty scary. Like, it is pretty dark.
Right.
But
he has friends on the other side.
Good song.
So, I think he does have a good villain song as well. I wouldn't put it to the top of my villain songs list, but I think it definitely ranks up there near Be Prepared by Scar.
Yeah. Who would have thought, when we first sat down to watch The Princess and the Frog, because it's a relatively
I never
movie.
watched it when it came out.
No, we watched it years later. And we weren't expecting it to be all that fantastic.
We watched it because we were bored and we're like, all right, let's just watch this.
Right. And it's good.
Yeah, it's actually really well done.
So good.
So, Princess and the Frog, if you haven't watched that one, even as an adult, give it a watch.
Yep.
So yeah, Dr. Facilier is my number 2. I think he's worthy of a top 5 villain.
I would agree. And I do agree.
You do agree, because he was on your list.
All right, my number 2. Okay. Yzma from The Emperor's New Groove.
I figured she would end up on your list somewhere.
I love her. First, I love playing her in Disney Villainous. She's my favorite. And she's just great.
Yeah.
She has Kronk, the best sidekick, one of the best sidekicks. And the two of them together are fantastic. And
Kronk.
She has like some really quotable like lines.
Yeah.
Like pull the lever, wrong lever.
And on a side note with that, we think Disney missed a horrible opportunity since they're re-theming Splash Mountain.
Yep.
It should have been an Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah, there's no representation of that movie in the parks.
Right. And I don't know how you throw a giant fall in with
not using Emperor's New Groove.
Right, with Princess and the Frog, which is what they're gonna re-theme it to.
Right.
Last we heard.
Yeah, I don't know how that will work.
Yeah, so missed opportunity, Disney.
Yep.
Missed opportunity.
Yep. But Yzma, she's just one of my favorits.
I figured she'd
and
be
she
on
turns the guy into Obama. I mean, that's just great. Not
well,
on purpose,
technically,
really.
that was Kronk that did that.
Once again, why Kronk is so great. I think she's on my list because I like playing her in Villainous, and because it's like pseudo Kronk on my list.
Yep. Yeah.
I really like him.
I mean,
he's so dumb.
It's probably one of the only ones you've had on your list that there is no musical soundtrack to
No, I know, no good song.
But it is, as Joelle said at the beginning, an underrated movie.
Yeah, and she's a great character.
Yeah, she's just pretty nasty.
Yeah. But funny.
All right.
Dun,
all right, so
da.
we're to our number 1 spot. Let's see if I can guess what Joelle's number 1 villain is, because she hasn't mentioned him yet. I guess it's Gaston, but we'll see, I guess. You want to take a guess at who my top, since it's not Scar?
I know. So you're going philosophical here.
This one may be a little less philosophical.
Oh, okay. I really have no clue.
If it wasn't copyrighted, I'd insert Jeopardy music here.
You can do less than 15 seconds of it. I really...
You don't want to
It's
take
a he.
any guess.
Can
It is
it's
a he.
Okay.
I can narrow it down to a he. No clue, huh?
No, you hold things pretty close.
Don't even want to take a guess.
I would have guessed Hades, but you said he's not in your top 5.
He's not in my top 5. So.
That's who I would have guessed.
Oh, okay. Well, he's not. So, my number 1...
I'm going to be surprised.
As I said, it's not necessarily philosophical, but at the same time, what this villain did was pretty appalling. But on top of that, he's got a good song. His design is just interesting for me.
Ooh, okay.
just because of his concept. I think it's creative. I think it's...
his concept?
It's a tad bit terrifying as well.
Oh my goodness.
My number one Disney villain.
Okay.
And people may argue that this may not count in Disney villains, but we decided that it does, is Oogie Boogie.
Duh, I should have guessed that. I was thinking classic Disney, and that's not classic Disney to me. Yeah.
Oogie Boogie is my number one villain. He's just a crazy design. He's basically a burlap sack full of bugs. He's got mystery to him because...
Spoiler alert, I've never seen The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, Joelle. One of the youth in the youth group that I work with, we keep joking with her because she tried watching it and hated Nightmare Before Christmas, and I keep telling her that she loves that movie and she just doesn't realize it yet. But I just think Oogie Boogie is mysterious. He's evil. He kidnaps Santa Claus.
That's pretty bad.
And his goal was just to, I think, eat him? I forget now.
I don't know.
Just destroy him. Santa needed to go. So I think his design is neat. I think the mystery behind him is neat. He's got a good song to him. His plan was just sinister. So for me, Oogie Boogie takes the number one spot when it comes to...
I should have guessed that.
To Disney villains. And as I said, some of you may not agree that he's a Disney villain. But
leave a comment down below.
It falls in line there with regards to what I believe is the best Disney villain. So, all right. So your number one...
Yeah.
Is...
You guessed
Gaston.
it. Gaston. Beauty and the Beast might be my favorite Disney movie. I probably shouldn't say these things because they're going to be spoilers up ahead, or maybe I'll surprise you. But Gaston is my favorite villain. He has a great song. I think he is pretty evil, like Stuart mentioned. I think you kind of hate him, but you kind of love him at the same time. Which I think is maybe a great...
He's relatable as a villain.
Right. Which I think is a good... Like a fine line to walk. And I like that. We met him at Disney World, the first trip.
The real one. The animated one.
Not the real one.
Wandering around.
But he's like the best character to meet. The best interactions.
He was one of the better villain interactions that you have.
Yeah, it's so good. And he's just so conceited and like... Look at me, I'm amazing. I'm so hot. I have muscles. Blah, blah, blah. Like, So, he is my number one. Best song, good villain, good dying scene.
Being thrown off a castle is...
Yeah, and then you see the little skulls in his eyeballs as he falls.
Yep.
Kind of terrifying as a child. But, yeah, Gaston is my favorite and my number one Disney villain.
Well, there you go. So I did have a couple that came close.
Okay.
I don't know if you did or not.
I did, but I didn't write them down on the
I already mentioned Hades. Hades was a close. So I think if we were to do top 10, he'd definitely be in top 10. Jafar was another one that I wrestled with.
Yeah.
You know, just I think once again that's a nostalgia thing, but I also believe that he's just creepy.
Yeah, he is. And the fact that he's like so long and like he's just like almost snake-like a little bit.
And the animated Jafar is a large reason why I don't like or care for the new Aladdin. I think they did a horrible job with casting for the revamp, and I didn't like...
You're saying some pretty strong opinions in this video.
People need to know this. Will Smith should not have been a genie.
Wow.
Should not have been the genie because he just... Yeah, I don't care for that
style of
genie. And once again, this is largely nostalgic, so when you start changing my childhood, I have a problem. And Robin Williams just, I think, no one would ever measure up to Robin Williams. So Disney needs to learn to leave well enough alone.
Leave my childhood alone! Alright, well I had on my list that didn't quite make it Ratigan from The Great Mouse Detective, and that would have been nostalgia. And I had one more, and I can't think of what the other one was. I had 3 options for my number 5. Well, I don't remember.
Okay.
So do you want to go through your list real quick again and give your 5 down to 1?
Yep, I can certainly do that. So number 5 for me was Gaston. Number 4, Scar. No, that's wrong. Number 4, Ratigan. Number 3, Scar. Number 2, Dr. Facilier. And number 1, Oogie Boogie.
Okay. And my top 5 was number 5, Prince Hans from Frozen. Number 4, Dr. Facilier. Number 3, Hades. number 2, Yzma, and number 1, Gaston. So we would love to hear what your Disney villain top 5 are. Leave a comment down below or check us out on Instagram or Facebook and you can leave a comment there.
Yep.
We would love for you to subscribe because like I said, every Wednesday we will have another Disney top 5 that are our personal opinions. And so we hope you stick around and check them out. Yeah, and we will see you next time.
Take care, guys.
Bye.